How many multi-author books have you done now? Have you lost count?
Oh, God. I think last count was something like maybe 132 books, I think. 132 multi-author books, yeah. And then plus my own ones into the bargain. So I moved house and I wrote a book called One Thing Less, which is how to downsize. And
Oh,
for a
I'll have
year,
to read
Susan,
that.
yeah, for a year, Susan, my plan was give away one thing every day for a year. And the average home in the UK has 300,000 items. So giving away 365 things is not going to break the bank at all, right? But it was incredible. In the end, I downsized 4/5 of all my possessions in 1 year. Amazing, yeah. So I did that one. And then this is just a recent number one bestseller in 4 countries called Retire Inspire. And that's what it looks like, right? But it's multi-authors just giving their expertise about how to retire well. That was where, so we're doing book number 2 there.
I
But
can't imagine you ever retiring, Andrew.
no, not on the agenda. This is the one that I really, really love, and if I can talk about it. As an executive coach, my clients get a playbook, right? And see it scribbled out. That's how they get it. It's got scribbled out playbook, right? Not a manual playbook. And it's essentially 12 big lessons I've learned from coaching CEOs and people at really, really high in compliance that can be dialed sideways to just your ordinary business owner. And I specialize now in doing family-run businesses, but established family-run businesses. But one of the modules in here was about conflict.
Yeah.
And so if we're having conflict, if you employ staff, I don't know anyone that I've ever coached who's never had a conflict with either middle management or their frontline staff, right? But essentially, you don't need to read this, but essentially, we're having a conversation. If you suddenly realise, oh shoot, I'm just triggered or I'm upset, if you go down this route, you'll make it worse. And if you go down this route, you'll make it better. And we actually did this talk, if you remember, up in
Malta.
Durham.
Oh no, this one was in Durham. Was this
Durham?
before?
You did that talk.
This was Durham. Right?
Anyway, I did it. I think there was 143 people at your event.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And then I did it. A friend of mine who heard about that said, oh, can you do the similar thing for me? And I said, yeah, sure. How long do you want me to talk for? He said, can you talk for an hour and a half? I said, yeah, of course I can talk for an hour and a half on this. So, I could have had 4 beers and still do it justice, right? So I said, yeah, I can talk about he said, can you do in our coaching thing, can you do that conflict thing? He said, and I said, why? He said, well, it just helped me incredibly, right? And Susan, it was based on the fact that I did an internship in a rehab clinic, right, where you're dealing with people who are upset all the time, right? You're having conflict all the time. I did this internship in a rehab clinic and then a palliative care place, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I learned about how do you listen to someone who's upset, right? So as I said, if you go down, if someone's upset, if you go down this route, you'll make it worse, and if you go down the other route, you make it. If you go down this route, you'll make it worse, and if you go down this route, you'll make it better very, very quickly, right? And that was stress tested in a rehab clinic, right? Anyway, my mate says, can you come and do this talk jump on Zoom and do the talk? I said, yeah, I'd love to. And I said, when do you want me to do it? He said, oh, can you jump on in 7 minutes? Went, what?
No pressure?
He said, yeah. He said, we can't find our speaker. And it was, I think, internet problems. So he said, you're good to go with that? I said, yep. Talk for an hour and a half. I said, all right. Anyway, at the end of it, people said, is there a book? And there wasn't, but I'm a publisher. I've got a publishing company. So I said, yep, no worries. So 7 days later, the book came out.
I love that book. Is This About Me or You? I love that book. I've read that 2 or 3 times. It's such a good book. Such a good book.
And it just explains, if you go down, essentially what'll make it worse is when you're listening to someone upset is, do I agree with what they're saying or not? And if you disagree, you're going to argue. All right? You go to a rehab clinic, I can guarantee you people are going to be saying stuff that makes no sense whatsoever, and they think they're 100% correct. So if you start disagreeing with them, you're going to have conflict, right? And you know for a fact what they're saying is rubbish, right? So the second column is it's not do I agree, this is do I agree, and if you disagree, you'll end up down that way. But this is do I understand and do I care?
Yeah.
So it's a different framework of listening. So the kid that broke into my house and stole my laptop, who I collared, by the way, and called the cops.
When was this?
Oh, this is a long time ago. This kid broke into my house, very resourceful, right? Relatively resourceful how he got in. But I caught him. I pinned him down and I called the cops, right? And while he was down on the floor with my foot on his neck, with my knee on his neck, waiting for the cops to arrive, I didn't hurt him, by the way. Just had him pinned down. He was telling me why he broke in, and he had a drug habit, right? And I didn't agree with him breaking into my house, but I understood why he did it. And I cared that he was breaking the law, and the police said, "Do you want to press charges? This kid's hard luck." And I said, "Yes, I do." Oh, but I said, "No, I'm pressing charges, right?" And if you ever get in with someone like that, press charges.
Yeah, because quite
because
often
when
then
you let them off, they go back and do it again.
Yeah, quite often they get the help that they need, though, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And this kid did get the help he needed, but that book was, I didn't agree, but I did care. So I got to tell you, you know Jane Gunn, don't you? You know Jane Gunn? Yeah. She was at the time the president of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, right? Everything I'm saying is really about Beauty and the Best and how we work with an author. I want you to understand, I'm not talking about me, but this is the spirit of how you get someone to write a great story. Anyway, Jane comes back and she said, Andrew, I hated your book. And this is the president of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators of the UK telling me she hates my book. And I said, why? What was wrong with it? And I had all this imposter syndrome come in because she's written an amazing book on conflict, right? And she said, I hated it because I read it cover to cover.